What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Back with another one, another banger. And if y'all enjoy this, leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let's get right into it.
Was Benjamin Franklin a serial killer? And before you say no, of course not, that's crazy, why were 15 bodies pulled from his basement? And before we dive in, if you're darkly curious, you'll love the podcast. So 200 years after Benjamin Franklin lived in this home, renovations were happening to turn it into a museum. Except when they were doing renovations, they found this small windowless room underneath his garden. And in it contained 1,200 bones from 15 different people. And dating the bones showed that they were from the time that Benjamin Franklin was in the house. So evidence doesn't really point to Benjamin Franklin being a serial killer, but the reason that they're there is still really dark. It's believed that the bodies were robbed from local graves for medical students to practice on. The practice was illegal, but no bodies were being donated to science at the time. Benjamin Franklin most likely knew this was happening. I mean, he was letting them use his home for it, but he probably turned a blind eye to it because he knew he would get in trouble if he was allowing this to happen.
After the explosion at Haddonfield Sheriff's Department in 1989, serial killer Michael Myers and his niece Jamie were kidnapped and cared for by the Man in Black. 6 years later, Jamie gave birth to a baby boy on Halloween Eve 1995. The Man in Black then took the baby away to perform a cult ritual on him. Later that night, a nurse helped Jamie escape with her baby before being killed by Myers for her trouble. Jamie stole a truck after Myers snapped the neck of the driver.
Hold up, bro. You mean to tell me there's a serial killer called Michael Myers? Like from the movie? Nah, that's crazy, bro.
Back in Haddonfield, a now grown-up Tommy Doyle had obsessed over Myers since 1978 when he attacked his former babysitter Laurie Strode. Myers eventually caught up with Jamie and killed her in a barn. A rune symbol was seen at the crime scene, which matched the tattoo on Myers' wrist and the baby's chest. After 4 more murders at the hands of Myers, the Man in Black was revealed to be Dr. Wynne, the administrator of Smith's Grove Sanitarium, and leader of the Cult of Thorns. This was followed by 7 more deaths at the hands of Myers. Tommy used the baby to distract Myers, stabbed him in the neck with chemicals, beat him with a lead pipe and left for dead. After being shot multiple times and falling down a mine shaft on October 31st, 1988, American serial killer Michael Myers, having survived the fall and a dynamite blast, crawled out of a side tunnel. He found a small shack near the river in which a hermit lived and then fell into a coma. On October 30th, 1989, a year later, Myers, having been cared for by the hermit, finally woke up and stabbed him in the back. He then made his way back to Haddonfield. Jamie Lloyd was admitted to the Haddonfield Children's Clinic after stabbing her foster mother a year earlier and became a mute. Despite losing her voice, Jamie gained a telepathic link with her uncle Michael. A farm Halloween party soon turned into a crime scene where Myers went on one of his trademark killing sprees. Yet another cat and mouse chase ended with Myers being lured back to his childhood home. Dr. Loomis, having lost his mind, tried to use Jamie to lure Michael into a trap. He then beat Michael unconscious before suffering a stroke. Myers was then arrested. However, the police station was then blown up by a mystery figure, and Myers escaped.
Huh.
Here are some facts that you probably didn't know that one day could save your life. Human bites are one of the most dangerous animal bites in the world due to infection rates and the amount of bacteria in our mouth. To stop a bite, brace yourself and push the part of you that's being bitten into their mouth with force so they can't rip into your skin. Palm trees are way heavier than they look, and their branches can randomly fall off without warning. If you're on a sinking ship and you're somehow able to get free, beware. If you're far down enough in the ocean, the water pressure will collapse your lungs. To avoid this, scream all the way to the top. It'll keep the pressure from killing you instantly. Okay, this may sound obvious, but do not eat uncooked slugs or snails. They have parasites that will make you paralyzed and eventually kill you. If you're trying to see if a mirror is two-sided, put your nail against the glass. If there's no gap between your nail and the reflection, run. If someone is stumbling around and sounds drunk but hasn't had any alcohol, ask them to smile. If one side of their face is drooping, get them to the hospital. They're having a stroke.
How did a kid studying abroad become a North Korean prisoner? In 2016, Otto Warmbier was studying abroad in China when he joined this black market tour group that was taking kids into North Korea. But the day he's leaving, he gets stopped by 2 guards and dragged back into the country. They thought that Otto had tried to steal a propaganda poster off of a wall, but there's not really any evidence that he did that. But they still held him prisoner inside of North Korea and put him on trial. In this video, you can see Otto giving a very coerced and rehearsed confession, and eventually he was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor inside the country. But then this is where it gets crazy. The next year, North Korea and the US strike a deal where Otto can be released and sent home. Except when his family goes to get him at the airport, he was completely comatose. North Korea said the coma was because he had gotten botulism from food and then took a sleeping pill. But then we found a document that said he had been in a coma since April of 2016, which was 1 month after his trial. His family believes that he had been tortured, but the coroner said that was probably not the case. The coma was most likely caused by lack of blood flow to the brain, not necessarily a sleeping pill. But we might never know the answer to this one. One time someone did dive headfirst into boiling water at Yellowstone after a dog. In 1981, David Kirwan was at Yellowstone with a friend when his friend's dog got away and jumped into a 200-degree hot spring. People around were screaming at David to not go in after the dog, but he didn't even give it a second thought. He just dove straight in. Some people completely dissolve when they do this because the pools tend to be very acidic, which I talk about in this week's episode, but that didn't happen.
What is with people and their dogs, bro? Like, it's just, you can always go buy another dog, bro. You can't buy another life, though. Like,
Happen here. So David was able to swim out far enough to get the dog, but he realized it was way too hot, so he had to leave the dog and turned around to come back. His friend was able to pull him out, but at this point David was completely blind from the boiling water getting into his eyes. A stranger had also run over to help, and he tried to take David's shoe off of his foot, but David's skin had completely melted and started coming off with the shoe. And on top of all of this tragedy, Moosey, the dog, unfortunately didn't make it out of the hot spring. She was completely lost. And David also succumbed to the burns the next day. You'd assume at this point people know the dangers of the hot springs, but people go into them way more often than you'd think. If you have a dark curiosity about this kind of stuff, you might be interested in the episode I just did.
Here are some facts that you probably didn't know that one day could save your life. If your microwave is broken, do not try and fix it. Even if it's been unplugged for several days, it still holds a current capable of shocking you to death. If you're ever doing work on a car, always have it on jack stands or a lift. Car jacks are for lifting, not holding. If you're wounded but have a cigarette nearby, you can actually use the filling to pack the injury. This is because tobacco is aseptic, meaning there's little to no harmful bacteria. If you drink bad homemade alcohol, it may contain methanol, which is deadly. Ironically though, the cure is ethanol, or regular alcohol, so if you get sick from moonshine, a glass of whiskey or some vodka could save your life. If you sit down to use the bathroom in prison, take 1 foot out of your pants completely. This way, if someone tries to attack you, you can get up and fight back. If some guy ever offers you polar bear liver, do not eat it. It contains a fatal amount of vitamin A. People who are looking for trouble are less likely to go for you if you say hi or simply let them know you're aware by introducing yourself.
This is the case of the baby who was found.
nah, that's crazy. A lot of the stuff that he said is actually pretty legit. That's facts. Take notes.
Murdered near Gulliver's World theme park in Cheshire. On March the 14th, 1998, a hideous discovery was made. A dog walker was strolling through the woods near Gulliver's World in Warrington, Cheshire, when they found a baby's body in a bin bag. A post-mortem was conducted and showed the child had been strangled and beaten round the head. The victim was just hours old when he tragically died. The parents of the baby were never found and his identity remained a mystery. Now, 25 years later, we may finally have answers. The child was eventually named Callum by officers and he was given a funeral in which 150 locals attended. Kind locals raised over £800 to go towards the funeral costs and he was buried in a little white coffin. His headstone states, "With love from the people of Warrington." In July this year, 2 people from Liverpool were arrested on suspicion of his murder and have since been released on bail. Police state that the investigation is still ongoing.
Bruh, I don't understand. Like, how do you not find the parents? The only, I guess it would make sense if they just had if she just had the baby, you know, naturally at home, and then I think it was the parents, bro. I think it was definitely the parents. The parents had the baby. They didn't want the baby, so they murdered it, which is crazy. Like, why would you do that? You can always give the kid up for adoption. Like, you don't really have to take care of the kid if you don't want to. Give it to somebody who does want to take care of it. not murder it, bro, and leave it in the street. It's crazy, bro. Some people are so wicked.
Once described the case as one of the most disturbing of his career.
Have you ever heard of the Pickering Lost Boys enigma? My name is Chad Smith, and I am one of the missing. Let me tell you what happened that night. We were 6 buddies, all high schoolers, and we were partying like never before. We were laughing, drinking, in short, enjoying life like any young people our age. Suddenly, one of us had a wild idea. What if we went to Pickering Marina? You know, that place where the rich leave their luxury boats. We went there, and started fooling around on the docks, teasing each other like all true buddies do. But then, everything changed. One of us, caught up in the euphoria, jumped onto a boat. And that's where it all went wrong. The next day, the police received a report. A boat and a paddle boat had disappeared. And we were nowhere to be found. No signs of a shipwreck, no trace of the boat or the paddle boat. We had simply vanished. The police tried everything, questioned all the town's residents, searched nearby water points for wrecks, but nothing. No information, as if we had simply disappeared off the face of the earth. But all that changed when the police found a camera miles away from the marina.
Why the fuck are you telling the story in first person if you're the one who got lost? Like, how does that make any sense, bro? That kind of just spoils the story, does it not? Or am I tripping? Vanished. What the hell?
Marina, in the middle of a forest. The police and the town's population were shocked when they discovered what was recorded on the camera. If you want to know what was on that camera, subscribe, and comment, Pickering, or part
SMD.
2. Don't miss the continuation of this incredible story.
The group killed their friend and then drove him around with a hat and sunglasses on, pretending he was still alive. Joshua Rose was just 21 years old, living in Pennsylvania. On the 25th of August 2016, he was at a friend's house in Scranton. He was with 19-year-old Preston Layfield and his ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old Amanda Wader. The trio were all using the substance H. Unfortunately, as is very common with this substance, Joshua lost consciousness. Preston and Amanda panicked as they figured he may have OD'd. Amanda called her friend 22-year-old Tyler and asked if he could give them a lift to the hospital. Tyler said yes, and the 3 of them put Joshua in the car and started the drive. However, rather than actually getting their friend the urgent help he needed, they ended up driving straight past the hospital. For some unknown reason, they continued to drive north down Interstate I-81. Between there and the remote wooded area that they ended up, at some point they put a bag over Joshua's head. Horrifically, Preston then strangled him with a cable. Amanda later stated that she knew Joshua was still alive at this point as she saw him breathing. Once Joshua was deceased, they put a hat and sunglasses on him to make him look like he was still alive. They stopped for petrol before carrying on and eventually dumping Joshua's body in a remote wooded area. Luckily, CCTV images captured them driving Joshua around with a hat and sunglasses on. All 3 pleaded guilty to 3rd-degree murder. Preston and Tyler both got 20 to 40 years. Amanda got 15 to 40 years.
This is the Claire Miller case.
Hold up. Why the hell did she only get 15 to 40? What do you mean 15 to 40? Is it 15 or is it 40, bro? Like, that's a pretty big stretch. Is it 20 to 40? What you mean 20 to 40? Is it 20 or is it 40? I don't really understand, bro. What? Somebody explain that to me. I don't understand that. That's crazy, though. They deserve life in prison. All of them. All 3 of them. I don't care if you did it or not. You were there. You didn't say nothing. You didn't call the cops. Life. Give him life. Throw the key away.
The TikToker who stabbed her sister to death. This is Claire Miller, and in 2021, she stabbed her sister to death. Claire was just an average 14-year-old girl who went to school, had friends, and did normal teenage things.
Who would have expected?
And she also posted on TikTok a bunch, which accumulated a small fan base. And there are pages still active today reposting and sharing her TikTok.
Why are you still sharing her TikToks? See, get your kids. Get your kids. Don't let them watch TikTok. This is what happens. Also, y'all stop watching TikToks. That means me too. I gotta stop watching too. Nah, but it's something about this new generation. Like, motherfuckers will kill their parents, kill their siblings. Like their siblings. Like, Is there something in the food, in the air? Like, what is it, bro? Crazy.
But she had a disturbing side of her that nobody knew about, and in 2021, that side of her would come out. Claire had an older sister named Helen who was 19, and Claire was 14. And what makes this case even sadder is that her sister Helen had cerebral palsy. But randomly on February 2nd, 2021, Claire just randomly snapped. She grabbed a knife in her house and stabbed her 19-year-old sister in the neck with it. Claire then called the police and turned herself in, but she was completely hysterical on the phone, claiming, "I killed my sister, you need to get here right now." And when the authorities arrived, Claire was standing outside completely covered in blood, and there was also blood all over the snow on the ground. Her sister was then found inside the house with the knife still in her neck. Authorities have gone on the record after this murder stating how this case is so unusual because it's a sister murdering her older sister.
Watch how much I want to bet they gave. Let me give me a second. See her. She probably pleaded insanity or woody woo whatever. I'll say they gave her. They probably gave her like 20. 20. They gave her like 20. Maybe 25. Let's see.
And Claire was only 14 years old when she committed this crime, which is just extremely young. Obviously, Claire's parents were devastated because not only did they lose one daughter, they lost their other daughter because Claire was arrested. Claire was sentenced to 12.5 years to 40.
What the fuck? See, I wanted to say 15, but I thought that was a bit too low. Nah, I'm not even tripping. Also, somebody please explain this to me in the comments. What the fuck? What do they mean by 12 to 40 years? That's a big stretch. It's either 40 years or 12 years. Like, it can't be 12 to 40. What does that even mean, bro? Nah, that's crazy though. They should have gave her life in prison without possibility of ever getting out. She murdered not only her sister, her blood sister, but she had like a mental disability or physical disability. She wasn't even able to defend herself. Like come on, bro.
40 years in prison.
This is crazy.
This case is just horrible, and it just goes to show that you never know what somebody is really going through or thinking. I feel so bad for the parents and the sister, and may Helen rest in peace. This woman cut the baby out of her pregnant friend, and this case is absolutely sickening. This is the case of Lisa Montgomery. She constantly lied about being pregnant and having miscarriages. And in 2004, she became friends with a pregnant woman whose name was Bobby Stinnett. And on December 16th, 2004, Lisa Montgomery entered Stinnett's house and murdered her by strangulation.
Oh my god. Let me just go out and say this. She doesn't look like a very happy and approachable person to begin with. How does she even have friends looking like that with that stank ass face? Come on.
Lisa then cut Stinnett's unborn baby from her womb and fled the scene. Stinnett's body was discovered by her mother lying in a pool of blood, approximately an hour after the murder. She called the police immediately and described the wounds inflicted upon her daughter as appearing as if her stomach exploded. Just imagine that for a second. Paramedics were unsuccessful in attempts to revive Stinnett, and she was pronounced dead. Lisa Montgomery allegedly called her husband Kevin that same day around 5:15 p.m., saying that on a shopping trip she had gone into labor and given birth. The following day on December 17th, police went to Montgomery's home, and when they arrived, they found a car matching the description of the one at the crime scene, and when they entered the home, they found Lisa Montgomery inside holding the infant baby and watching television. Montgomery was then arrested an hour later after her story fell apart and she confessed. The kidnapped newborn baby that she cut out of her friend, whom she claimed was her own, was recovered and given back to the father. Lisa Montgomery was then put on death row and was recently executed by lethal injection on January 13th, 2020.
That's good. See, that's justice. Death row, beautiful, perfect. God, what a horrible thing to do, bro. What a horrible, sick person, man. For real.
2021. This girl was so obsessed with having a baby of her own that she literally cut one out of her friend. And keep in mind, her friend was 8 months pregnant. She built a connection with this child, and it was literally hers. Can you just imagine what Joe Stinnett was thinking in that moment? I can't even imagine the emotions that was running through her body. All in all, this case is absolutely sickening, and Lisa Montgomery definitely deserved what she got.
When police arrived at this bloody murder scene, they were on the hunt for a masked intruder. What they ended up uncovering, no one expected. Couple Erin Everett and Tony Minnick lived in Jerome, Pennsylvania. The pair had begun a whirlwind romance after Erin had come out to members of her family as a lesbian. Tori had also recently broke off her engagement with a man. Unfortunately, initially Erin's family was not accepting of her sexuality. Despite this, though, the pair were happy together. The relationship was moving quite quickly, and Erin proposed to Tori early on. To the outside world, things looked picture perfect. Erin's parents, despite their initial reservations, ended up agreeing to let Tori move into their home to be with Erin. However, things started to take a dark turn. The pair had started to get into bad arguments after moving in together. Now, despite Erin telling everyone how happy she was, Erin's mother actually got concerned that Tori was being physically abusive to Erin. Their fights started getting worse and worse, and Tori started spending time away from their home. That was until Erin found out some devastating news. Tori had apparently been seeing her ex-fiancé Cody behind Erin's back. Erin was enraged by this, and on the evening of March the 25th, 2011, things would change forever. While Tori was fast asleep, Erin took her dad's gun and shot Tori twice.
Oh, shit.
She then attacked her with a hammer. After realizing she was not able to dispose of Tori's body alone, she rang her mum. She claimed that a masked intruder had committed the murder and she just found Tori. Police were called and found the hideous scene. Erin seemed to be kind of trying to pin the attack on Tori's ex-fiancé Cody, but police saw right through her claims. After they grilled her in questioning, she eventually admitted to the crime. Despite her confession, she did plead not guilty and claimed she was abused by Tori. Eventually, she was found guilty and sentenced to life without parole.
Awesome.
This is one of the hardest execution videos to watch explained. The video that I'm about to explain is a short one, but it's absolutely gut-turning. The video setting is in some sort of rainforest area, and as the video begins, Deborah Bessa, who is the victim on your screen right now, can be seen kneeling on the ground, and a man is standing behind her holding her hair. His face is covered and he's holding a machete. The look on Deborah's face is complete fear and worry as she awaits.
Are we seeing the same picture? He looks happy as a motherfucker in that picture.
Her grisly demise. She is then pulled to the ground by the guy with the machete and lets out a haunting scream. Deborah is lying on her side, almost in a fetal position now, and the killer then takes the machete and tries to slash the side of her neck with it, but struggles as Deborah tries her best to defend herself, while letting out ear-piercing screams. A second—
Damn, that kind of sucks too, because she's kind of bad. No cap, she looks pretty good.
And then enters the shot carrying what looks like a kitchen knife, and he then begins to stab Deborah in her side and around her ribcage area. She reacts with a short, sharp scream and then lies on her back after she is stabbed. The man with the machete then begins slashing at her throat as Deborah screams and screams and screams.
Sheesh.
And while this is happening, the man with the kitchen knife begins stabbing her in the stomach. And instinctively, she tries to move her hand to protect herself from the stabbings, but the killer stabs through her hand and into her stomach. After a few seconds, she stops screaming but is still moving as she is being stabbed and beheaded by the killers. The man with the machete then stands up and hits Deborah in the throat with the machete, which makes a cracking type sound, which means he most likely hit her spine with the blade. He then hits her again and again, and after the second strike, it appears Deborah vomits, but it comes out of her slashed throat instead of her mouth. He then hits her a couple more times and her body freezes up as her spinal cord is severed.
How is she still alive?
It appears the beheading has been completed and the video concludes.
Holy shit.
2 of the 3 killers in this video have been arrested and this video was used as evidence. This video is absolutely horrific and some consider it one of the worst ones out there, and I can see why. Just the pure evil and brutality in this video is enough to make you look away. Never go searching for this video because you will regret it immediately.
You're right. I will never look for it.
What? Look in there, mate. Look in there.
Oh, who is that?
What?
Oh. Bro, I just got goosebumps, bro.
This 18-year-old killed a mother and her daughter while street racing. So this is Cameron Herron. You probably know his story by now. In 2018, he was just a normal 18.
This guy? The fruitcake? Huh. You know what they say, don't judge a book by its cover, I guess.
At the time of the accident, Cameron was producing content for YouTube, was going to school, and on the day of the crash, he decided that he and his brother Tristan were going to race. So Cameron had a lifelong love of cars, and so he and his brother would always race, and he and his friends would race. But on that day, he reached a speed of 162 miles an hour in his car, and that's when he careened into Jessica and Lilia, a mother and daughter who were crossing the street. Jessica was actually wheeling her daughter across the street when Cameron struck them both with his vehicle. So tragically, on that day, David, Jessica's husband and Lilia's father, was driving home from work when he passed by a huge accident. He said to himself, wow, that must have been a bad accident. He went home, but when he got home, he noticed that his wife and daughter weren't there.
Ooh.
So he got back in his vehicle, went out searching for them, and when he returned and passed by the scene of that accident, he noticed the stroller that was sitting on the side of the road. He recognized that that stroller belonged to his family. They owned one just like that. And shortly afterwards, he discovered that the victims of that horrific crash were his own wife and daughter, who were now dead.
Oof.
So Cameron was obviously arrested. He was eventually sentenced to 24 years.
Alright, I'm about to... bruh. I'm about to go to school to learn the law so I can be a judge, so I can do justice for real. What the... Nah, that one actually pissed me off, bro. Nah, that's crazy. I can't imagine the way that guy felt, bro. His little daughter and his wife. Oof. God bless that man's soul. That has got to be the most worst feeling ever, bro. And then to think it was this little pussy. Nah, see, 24 years, bro, which means if he gets out in good time, what is that, like less than 20 years? Less than 20 years, so he gets to get out. It's probably like 20 or something. He gets to get out, he'll be like 40, gets to live the rest of his life. And this guy has to suffer for the rest of his life, bro. Doesn't have the love of his life anymore. Like, bro, nah, that's I hate it here, bro.
In prison, and shockingly, afterwards, people have made thirst accounts dedicated to Cameron. The actual hashtag Cameron Herron on TikTok itself has billions of views. And people have been idolizing this guy. His own parents have said in news articles that they get calls at all times of the day to their home from people from countries all over the world, specifically a lot of people from the Middle East, calling to see how their son is doing. But yeah, this is just a tragic story all around. What? David lost his wife and daughter, his entire family, due to one idiot's reckless decision to go 162 miles an hour down a normal road.
Yeah.
And in prison, Cameron Herron is going to be there for a very long time. So his entire adult life is pretty much gone, vanished before he could even be, the legal age to drink an alcoholic drink.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why you don't go 162 miles an hour down regular ass streets or anywhere, unless you're like on a racetrack, a drag strip, maybe. That's why they have those things, bro. Idolizing? Why are they idolizing this kid, bro? What is he like? Come on now. This guy's a POS, bro. This guy is a POS, bro. I smack the shit out of him if I see him in person. On my mama. I'll smack the goofy out of him. I will smack the goofy out of him, bro.
Age to drink an alcoholic drink. This TikToker who had almost 1 million followers, known as Jin Kid, murdered his wife and another man. This story is extremely twisted. So this is just a typical tale of you can't trust everything you see online. So this is Ali Abulaban and his wife Anna. On TikTok, they were always posting about how great their marriage was, how great their relationship was. Ali was always posting these funny videos. And seriously, their lives seemed perfect. I mean, look at this TikTok. They're talking about how their relationship is completely drama-free. Now, Ali had almost 1 million followers at the time of his arrest, and people who followed him thought he was this funny, carefree, humorous guy who would just post kind of meaningless videos on the platform. But there were some red flags in their marriage. So for a while before the shootings happened, Ali and Anna were separated. And in at least one instance, the neighbors who...
I'm saying, damn, because she's pretty as fuck, man. Now, she's fine. Like, come on, bruh. Crazy. I bet you she was probably cheating on him. Which, I mean, was she wrong? Bro got some Dumbo-ass ears and shit. Crazy motherfucker.
who lived across the hallway from these two actually reported that Anna came over to their apartment. She said that Ali had hit her and that she needed them to call the police for them because she didn't have a cell phone. He had taken it from her. And from July to October 2021, the month of the shooting, the police had been called to the couple's apartment 9 different times. So even though these two seemed like the perfect happy married couple on social media, they were far from that in real life. Now, eventually, Anna started living in the couple's apartment all alone. Ali was supposed to move out, but allegedly he made a secret key so that he could get in at any time. And Ali told police that at one point when Anna was at work, he broke into the apartment, he vandalized the apartment, and then he installed an app on his daughter's iPad which would allow him to monitor live audio coming from the apartment so he could hear everything that was going on in there. So on the same day that he broke into the apartment and installed this app on his daughter's iPad, a few hours later he was listening to the audio, kind of obsessing over it, and he heard a man and his wife giggling. And this allegedly was the last straw for Ali. So even though there was evidence that in the past Ali had actually cheated on Anna while the couple was married, he thought that she cheating on him was too far. And so he drove over to the apartment in San Diego, kicked open the door, and shot his wife Anna and her male friend Rayburn, killing them. Both of those two people would die from this shooting. So even though this happened back in 2021, the trial was supposed to start in 2022. The charges have...
I'll take it back. Shawty was loyal. She just wanted a real man who isn't crazy and doesn't beat her and treat her like garbage. Shout out to her. Rest in peace to her. And the other guy. Let me know. Don't cheat. Let me know how many years you think he got. I'm gonna go ahead and say they gave his ass. They gave him the book. I think they gave him the book, especially with those big ass ears. Oh yeah. They threw the book at him, as they should.
Officially been filed against him, but I haven't seen any updates on what's happening, and it's now been almost 2 years since the shooting. So hopefully we'll get some sort of clarity or resolution in this case, but it's just a sad story all around, and obviously this didn't have to happen. And it's just shocking to see how people can portray themselves to be happy-go-lucky people on social media, when in reality, there can be a demon lurking behind the facade.
Yeah. It's true. See what? I don't see nothing.
This is the disturbing case of the child who killed a child. In July 2018, 6-year-old Alesha MacPhail was abducted from her bed. She'd been staying with her grandparents in the Isle of Bute. She'd gone to sleep watching Peppa Pig, and no one had any idea of the horrors that would unfold that evening. Meanwhile, 16-year-old Aaron Campbell was drinking with friends at his house. Aaron apparently became upset in the night because he had been arguing with his mum. He had had a challenging upbringing involving physical and emotional abuse. Aaron decided that evening he wanted to get some substances to smoke from a couple that he knew. The couple in question were Alesha's dad, Robert, and his girlfriend. They'd been known to sell substances to Aaron previously, but he could not get hold of them. Intending to go and steal them off them, Aaron armed himself with a knife. He headed to Robert's house where he lived with his parents and girlfriend. This was obviously where Alesha was staying that evening. When he arrived at the house, he noticed the 6-year-old sleeping in her bed and took the opportunity to snatch the poor defenseless young child. Disgustingly, he carried her to a secluded location, SA'd her, and then killed her. He then...
Hold on. Holy shit. Jesus.
Disposed of his clothes in the sea. At 6 a.m. the next day, Alesha's grandparents woke up to discover that the little girl was missing. They straight away alerted police and locals. When the family asked Aaron to keep an eye out for the little girl, he texted them back saying, "Oh damn, I'm sure she's not went too far." A local man soon discovered Alesha's lifeless body around 15 minutes away from her house. Along with a lot of the local community, Aaron's mum actually checked her CCTV of her house. She was hoping that this would help with the investigation, and it definitely did. She saw her son leaving and returning from the house that night, and she handed the evidence over to police. Aaron was arrested, and it was discovered that the clothes that he'd abandoned on the beach did actually match with his DNA.
That is one of the most sickest, saddest things I've heard in a while, bro. That's crazy. That is so crazy to me. Like I said, what are they doing, bro? They gotta be putting something in the food, bro. A 10, or how old was the kid? 10, right? Something like that. Kills a little, and SA's a baby.
This case made me terrified to mar. This is the case of the horror in Screen 9. James Holmes was raised in California. His mum was a nurse and his dad was a scientist. From a young age, he was experiencing night terrors and allegedly actually tried to take his own life when he was just 11 years old. He was apparently obsessed with guns and weapons and had dreamed of becoming a mass murderer. Between May and July 2012, he legally bought 4 guns. Background checks were conducted and he was allowed the weapons. He also bought spike strips, which, if you don't know, pop the tyres of cars if they chase after you. On July the 19th, just hours before tragedy would unfold, James mailed his notebook to his psychiatrist. Inside the notebook, James detailed his plans to kill. The notebook was actually discovered later on undelivered. Just prior to entering a cinema in Aurora, James rang a crisis line to tell them about his plans to kill. However, the call was disconnected after just 9 seconds. At the midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises, CCTV captures James walking into the cinema. He walks into Screen 9, props open the door, and then walks back out again. Shockingly, he goes to his car and gets guns out and gas canisters. He re-entered the screen at about 12:38 p.m. and set off 2 gas canisters. When he entered Screen 9 again, he immediately opens fire on the audience, instantly killing 10 people. 2 others later died in hospital from their injuries. An additional 70 people were injured. This was an absolutely packed out cinema. James also shot at people as they scrambled to exit the screen. His youngest victim was a 6-year-old girl. Witnesses said this all unfolded as there was actually a gunfight on the screen, and initially they all thought it was special effects and just part of the film. Police were actually on the scene very quickly after the first 911 call. James...
See, that's why I always say, we live in a free country for a reason. If you don't have a gun, go to the gun store and get you one, or 2, or 3. Get you whatever you need, an automatic, whatever you feel comfortable with to defend yourself. Go and get you a gun, bro, because you can't do anything without having the risk of some crazy motherfucker coming in and killing you, bro. Like, you can't even go watch a movie because somebody might bust in there while you're watching a movie and smoke you. It's so crazy, but it's true. I hope y'all enjoyed. I appreciate y'all tuning in and messing with my content. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.